Hi, I'm Tahlia Newland. Today's happiness hint is remember real happiness. Real happiness? What is that? Everybody wants happiness, for sure. But how many of us stop and think what real happiness is? On one level, it's different things to different people. But on a deeper level, real happiness comes from the same place for everyone. We don't ask ourselves what happiness is because we think we know what it is. We make an assumption. But if our assumption is wrong or limited, we're selling ourselves short. We might spend our whole life looking for happiness in the wrong place. And we could be missing out on the kind of deep, fulfilling happiness that is real happiness. So what is real happiness? Is it that groovy new car that you've been saving for? Is it a great party? Is it a chocolate cake? Yum. Is it going to a fair and having lots of fun or a party? Is it cuddling a loved one? Is it stroking a pet? They're all one kind of happiness. Material goods and pleasant circumstances are what most of the human race think are happiness, and it's what most of us chase after. The problem with this kind of happiness, the kind based on material objects and external circumstances, is that it doesn't last. Time passes and our new car gets old. Things start to fall off it. We have problems with it. And its appeal just simply fades. We get used to it. It's not new anymore. We've already got it. So we look for something else that we think will bring us happiness. Also, illness, accident, unemployment, death can bring any constructed kind of happiness crashing down around us. This kind of happiness depends on factors outside of our control. When these things pass, when they wear out and lose their appeal, we start to want something else. We'll be happy when we get that job. We'll be happy when we get our brand new car. But what happens is it becomes an endless wanting, going after something else, something external to us, something outside of ourselves. And it's like drinking salt water. It never actually quenches our thirst. When we live this way, we live in hope and fear. Hope for pleasure, fear of pain. Hope for gain, fear of loss. Hope for fame, fear of being unknown. And hope for praise and fear of blame. These hopes and fears drive our lives. We spend our lives chasing gain, pleasure, fame and praise, and running from pain, loss, blame and being unknown. And this chasing and running from does not bring us happiness. We think it does, so we spend our lives seeking happiness in the wrong place, and it never brings us the deeply satisfying happiness that we crave. Luckily, there is another kind of happiness. There's a happiness based on inner peace and contentment. Real happiness is inside ourselves. It's with us always. We don't have to look for it somewhere else. Our happiness resides inside ourselves. What we need to do is turn our minds in. When you have inner peace and contentment, external circumstances don't matter so much. Of course, they do affect our happiness, but you can be happy even when you're poor, even when you're unemployed, if you've got inner peace and contentment. Real happiness can only be found inside ourselves. We have to stop looking for it outside. We have to stop searching for happiness in material goods and external circumstances. And we have to start looking inside to find our happiness in inner peace and contentment. So how do we do that? The French philosopher Pascal said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." If we can simply sit and be, and be content with what we do have without wanting anything. That's the basis of contentment. Inner peace comes from meditation, because in meditation we actually practice letting go of everything. All those hopes and fears that drive us, we just let them go, let them dissolve, let them drop, so they don't have such a hold on us. And in that way, we gain freedom from the cycle of dissatisfaction. So remember real happiness and search for it inside yourself. Sit quietly in a room by yourself and practice contentment and inner peace. Prunella Smith, the main character in my book Worlds Within Worlds, knows where to find inner peace and contentment. Her problem is trying to maintain that in the face of a stalker. Because that's the thing. It takes us a while to develop inner peace and contentment. And until we have it firmly established, we can, of course, lose it. But if we've developed the right skills, then we'll be able to get it back again. We just need to go back to our cushion and let everything drop away. And now it's time to meet our guest and find out what happiness hint they have for us today. Our guest today is Kate Policani from Seattle. Kate, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a writer here in the Seattle area. I'm north of Seattle now. I write science fiction and fantasy books. I do have some children's books, but those are collaborative, and I am not working on those at the moment.
That sounds great. I've read quite a lot of Kate's books, and I particularly love actually the very first one I read, which was is it Disenchanted Pet? Yeah, that's a great book.
The novel I'm currently looking at publishing now is another story in the same universe as the first one.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, Kate, what happiness hint have you got for us today?
So my happiness hint would be throw yourself into what you enjoy. I'm a mom. I have kids, and they all just lose track of everything but their imagination and what they're enjoying. And I want to keep that ability of theirs into adulthood. I want to let everything in my life fade away in the background when I'm enjoying something. Block everything out and focus my whole attention on that. It's a discipline. Sometimes it takes a lot of self-control, but it's created my books for me. That's how I've written, is to throw everything away and delve into imagination. So our lives are saturated with distractions, and tragedies. So we give ourselves permission to ignore it all when we can.
So you're talking about really focusing on being in the moment.
Being in the moment. And giving yourself permission to let everything else go.
Yeah, right. Great. So you're just focusing totally on what's happening for you right now that you're involved in, and everything else just fades away. Great. And do you have a happiness hurdle that you notice in yourself that sort of pops up that you have to deal with?
Yes, I would say that a big hurdle for me is other people's problems. I feel other people's problems maybe less than I express, but I have a couple of close friends who've gone through a lot of tragic things lately, and I get depressed for their sake. And in order to get past that, I pray. I pray for them. It feels good to just surrender that concern and sadness. And make sure to tell them, though, that I've prayed, because that kind of emotional support, I'm not trying to impose my beliefs, but I want everybody to know that I cared enough to bring your problem to God.
Yeah. I think the sadness often comes because you feel helpless. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, especially I have two friends with cancer. I have a friend whose marriage is having big problems, and so it's not something that I or even they can do anything about, but it's really helpful and brings a lot of peace to pray for them and then reach out to them and tell them that I care about you and you're in my thoughts. Yeah.
That's great. What about a happiness hero?
Oh, my hero was definitely my aunt. We call her Mimi, but her name is Jean Belter. We actually co-authored those children's books that I mentioned. And she passed away in 2010 with aggressive ovarian cancer. But she was a second mom to me, my emergency backup mom. And she had no children of her own. But her life had many health problems, big hurdles to overcome. She had a disorder that gave her bleeding. She had illness throughout her life. And then she lost her left leg at age 6, which is why we wrote the children's books, as a way to connect children to that feeling of loss that you get when you lose a limb. And she always, even though she had so much trouble, she always wore this angelic smile. She found a joke, even in the saddest circumstances. She opened her heart to everyone. She drew people in and cared about them from where they were. And her work as an obstetric nurse gave her the opportunity to literally bring people into the world, including me. And she could see people's flaws, and she had her own flaws, but she didn't let them stand in her way. Her faith showed through. It was a pillar of her strength and a fountain of hope for her, and also those around her. The life she lived rubbed off on me and really shaped me as a person, and it gave me the courage to be bold against my own challenges in my life. Helped me to be mindful and grateful of what I have, rather than sad about the things that I don't have. She encouraged me to finish writing my books, and she's really the reason why I became an author.
Great. Oh, she sounds like a wonderful role model.
She really is a wonderful role model in my life. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, people like that are so inspiring, and it's just great to have them around you. It's lovely. Yeah. Okay, did you bring a quote from anyone?
I did. I found a wonderful one from Corrie ten Boom. If you know her, she had some pretty hair-raising circumstances in her life, but she wrote, "Happiness isn't something that depends on your surroundings. It's something we make inside ourselves."
That's great. That's great. And it goes perfectly with the happiness hint that I just recorded, which was it's remember real happiness. And the whole thing about that happiness hint is that real happiness is inside yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't find it from material goods and happy circumstances outside and all that kind of stuff. So that's the perfect.
Those things go away or wear out, but the things that you enjoy inside are the most important.
Yeah, great. Well, that's it for today, Kate. Thanks so much. You can go back to your kids now.
Okay, and they will be here whether I'm ready or not.
If I were to select the one thing that has contributed the most to my happiness, it would be meditation. And I have several resources available to help you make meditation a part of your life. Pick up a free guided meditation in MP3 format at tahlianewland.com/guided-meditation. Also visit the bookshop at tahlianewland.com. You'll find all my books and a range of guided meditations there. Look for the audio book of How to Meditate Easily, Effectively and Deeply. And check out my fiction. I write real magic, stories with the power to transform. If you enjoyed Happiness Hints, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can also like Happiness Hints on Facebook. To find out more about Happiness Hints, including how you can be a guest on the show, visit happinesshints.com. You've been listening to Happiness Hints, hosted by Tahlia Newland, with music by Chris Newland.